Introduction?
I don't know.
Introduction.
All right, we got 6 here. Meg, Colleen, Jeff, Tracy, Jen, and Megan. There's your proof. All right. Make sure my head fits in here. All right, let's get started right away. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. This is the last time of the semester we're going to gather here. Start by saying that scientist David Suzuki said, "We're in a giant car heading toward a brick wall and we're all arguing over where we're going to sit." This speech is about global warming. We're driving down a path to catastrophe, and if we don't turn now, we may be heading into a frightening reality. Temperatures and greenhouse gases are rising at an alarming rate. We need to have a major reduction in our emissions of greenhouse gases. The question is what to do about it. There are many ways we can reduce our carbon footprint, so start your change now. We're all living in the global warming era, and my intent is for you to gain an understanding of exactly what's going on and maybe reconsider your position on the topic. I'm currently a meteorology major with a possible shift to climatology, and I've done extensive research on this subject. Let me see, I took a survey of 13 college students about global warming. I asked if they believe if global warming has already begun. 6 said yes, 5 said no, and 2 said they're not sure. I asked if they believe human beings are a contributing factor. 8 said yes, 4 said no, and 1 said not sure. I asked if they believe global warming poses a serious threat to plant and animal life. 8 said yes, and 5 said no. I asked if they think global warming will pose a serious threat to humankind. 8 said yes, 4 said no, and 1 said they're not sure. I asked if they believe that they are personally contributing to the global warming effect. 8 said yes, 5 said no. These results are very roughly define the greater opinion of United States citizens. Greenhouse gases are skyrocketing, temperatures are rising at an alarming speed, polar ice caps are melting at an increasingly alarming speed, and we are currently witnessing a mass extinction at a rate of up to 1,000 times faster than any in Earth's history. Global warmings and coolings have naturally occurred throughout Earth's history. The Earth's climate has ranged between glacial periods of near perpetual ice and interglacial periods or warm periods where polar ice was almost nowhere to be found. There are a few examples of some small climate changes that have happened during modern man's period. The medieval warm period was a time of a warming climate, approximately 950 to 1250 AD. This period was due to an altered ocean current, and sea surface temperatures are about 1 degree Celsius higher than they are now. The Vikings took advantage of ice-free seas to colonize Greenland and surrounding areas. Around 1000 AD, the climate was sufficiently warm enough to support a Viking colony. That's me, sorry. Man, that's bad. Sorry about that. Let's see, the medieval warm period was followed by the Little Ice Age, a period of cooling that existed between 1400 and 1700. The Vikings went extinct. This cooling was caused by altering ocean currents in reaction to the medieval warm period's melting of the polar ice caps, which changed the salinity of the ocean altering its currents. The ocean temperatures were about 1 degree Celsius lower during that period than they are now. There are existing journal reports of the Delaware River at Philadelphia during this time completely freezing over between early December and late March, a feat that none of us have seen in any of our lifetimes. These days, if the river freezes for a week in mid-January, it is considered a brutal cold snap. Studies also show that climate change was an ingredient in the Irish potato famine and the Black Plague. Here's some proof that global warming is occurring. Daily temperature statistics were taken from 1,800 reliable, quality-controlled weather stations around the globe. This is from January 2000 to September of 2009. Daily record high temperatures, which span back into the 1800s, occurred more than twice as often as record low temperatures. The ways these records are being broken shows how our climate is actually warming. According to LiveScience.com, from January 2000 through September 2009, the U.S. set 291,000 record highs to only 142,000 record lows. During this period, the U.S. experienced mild winters and extended heat waves. Modeling results indicate that if nations continue to increase their greenhouse gas emissions in a business as usual scenario, that number could rise to 20 to 1 by 2050 and 50 to 1 by 2100. In data that extends back to 1880, the 21 warmest years on record have all occurred since 1983. Of the 21 warmest, 3 occurred in the 1980s, 8 occurred in the 1990s, and all 10 years of the 2000s. 0 of the 103 years between 1880 and 1982 are in the top 21 warmest. Each of the last 16 years was one of the warmest 21 on record. 2009 was the 3rd warmest on record, 1998 the 2nd warmest, 2005 the warmest ever on record. The decade of the 1990s was the warmest on record until that was broken by the 2000s. Some of the more prominent climate change igniters have been continental drift, changes in ocean currents, volcanic eruptions, varying degrees of the sun's energy output, varying degrees of the Earth's axis tilt towards the sun, variations in orbit, and comets and meteorites. Our most recent igniter seems very likely to be the much debated human emissions of greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide. Greenhouse gases greatly affect the temperature of the Earth. Greenhouse gases, or we'll use GHGs for short, in order of abundance from greatest to least, is water vapor, carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, and the unnaturally occurring and now banned Freon-12. It is agreed across the board by everybody that while GHGs allow sunlight to hit the Earth, the heat that the sun rays cause, the heat rises and the greenhouse gases trap that heat in the lower atmosphere and keep the planet habitable. CO2 is produced naturally when animals breathe, when dead plants and animals decay, and by natural forest fires. Trees help to remove CO2 from the atmosphere by using it to produce food through photosynthesis. Plant life in the oceans also uses CO2. Mankind produces CO2 when coal, oil, and gas, the fossil fuels, are burnt for energy and electricity, and when forests are cut down and burned. Methane is formed naturally in marshes and bogs when dead plants and animals decay. Is also caused by termites. Mankind releases methane by growing rice, farming cattle, burying waste, and burning fossil fuels. Nitrous oxide is naturally produced by oceans and by lightning strikes. Humans have increased nitrous oxide by production of nylon and using agricultural fertilizers. Without GHGs, the Earth's surface would be an uninhabitable 60 degrees colder than it is now. Scientists have concluded that most scientists have concluded that an overabundance of GHGs in the atmosphere would significantly aid in temperature rises. Yet there are still people who are skeptic. I will tell you why I believe they are skeptic, and this is where I believe the argument gets sticky.